You now are listening to the audio podcast of Prisoners of Hope, the antidote to what ails your heart. I'm your host, Dr. Deborah Whitson. So come on in, pull up a chair, and open up your mind as you get ready to receive the download that hope will bring. Well, hey, it is a great day, and welcome to the podcast. And I am your friendly conductor, Dr. D. In the first part of this series, in the first installment, I talked about a beautiful painting entitled This Side of Heaven that was illustrated by D.H. Phillips. The story behind this picture is a living example of the topic at hand. I will visit this testimony momentarily. As we examine our own whys and whens, those unanswered questions that we ask God sometimes. Sometimes He takes a while to answer, sometimes it is right away. Most of the time it's delayed. But I just want you to understand on this side of heaven, we have things that we will never understand because it is hidden from us. God's ways and His thoughts are higher than our ways and our thoughts. And in Revelations 10:4, it says that some knowledge, some things will be locked away to the end of time. Okay. But Isaiah 55:9 says that He thinks on a different plane than we do. Now, the whys and the whens is what I covered in the first and second installment, respectively, of this series. I do want you to know that these are not the only unanswered questions that we might have. We might have questions like who, if he's not going to answer why, we're definitely not going to get information or who, how, or where it's going to happen. For the most part, these questions will remain unanswered. Some things God will tell us, and sometimes some things, like I said before, we will not know. We will become more understanding as time proceeds because we live life forward, but we understand it backwards. And remember that some of His plans will be sealed to the end of time. And you have to accept this, especially if you're going to walk with God. You're not going to know what the path is going to look at. Today, I would like to forward some answers to my whys and when questions that I have received over time on this side of heaven. My first testimony is to the answer why. I labeled this testimony New Vehicle, New Dent. Not too long ago, my son, my elder son, went into the call hauling business, and he had this about 3 years ago, and he had bought a brand new truck, and we have our insurance all together, but this had to be pulled out and put under a business insurance. So the last day that was done, I was driving his truck, brand new truck, and I went to Sam's Club, brand new truck. It's longer than what I'm used to handling, and I always say I've only had one accident in my life. Well, actually two, but the conditions were the same. I was backing up. I don't do backing up too good. I just don't, okay? So I had pulled into a space away from everybody, and of course, when I came out, somebody was parked kind of like diagonal, like kitty corner to me. So I underestimated my radius to turn out of the way, and I hit the vehicle. And so I put a note on the vehicle, and then later I met the person who was the owner of the vehicle. We exchanged information, and in my stress, because you know you're stressed when that happens unless you're used to hitting people. I'm not, and so I gave the person my personal insurance instead of the no, I gave them the. I'm sorry. Let me think this back. Okay, I gave them the business insurance instead of the personal insurance. It was under the personal insurance. See, I'm even confused now. I gave them the wrong insurance. Okay. And so I was thinking, oh my God, why did that happen? You know, oh gosh, what the heck? Brand new truck. And of course, I put a dent in it the first 2 days I had had it before the insurance was changed over. So I was thinking, oh, what a drag. Why? And so they called and come to find out it was reported on the wrong. It should have been reported on the individual insurance. And so we had to get that all straight. And I remember trying to explain to the lady what happened, and she was, um, I just want to say she was seemed to be distracted. That's the word I'm looking for. She was distracted. She wasn't really paying attention to what I was saying. You know how when you talk to somebody, you know they're not paying attention. And so about 2 months later, I get a call from her, and she was like, "Well, I'm just really confused about this because we don't have the business insurance." And I'm like, "Oh, no, no, it's supposed to be on personal insurance." And I was trying to explain it to her, and she seemed to be very distracted. That's how I remembered her from last time. It was the same person I talked to. And, you know, I said to her, "I'm really sorry. I confused this. I'm so sorry, you know. I probably confused you." And then she apologized. She said she was having a real bad time, that she had had a death in her family. And it happened the first day that I spoke to her. And the second time I spoke to her was 2 months later. You know, they were going through the funeral, I guess, arrangements because the person was cremated. And she was just really, I can tell, not listening to me again. And I said to her, "You know, I know this is very, very strange, and I usually don't do this." And it was true, I don't. And I said, can I pray for you for something? Because I sense that you need prayer. And she just breaks down crying. I mean, it was just amazing. And I sat there, it seemed like 5 minutes. I couldn't tell you how long, but I just sat on the phone listening to her. And I said, you know, and I did tell her, I said to her something to the effect, when the Holy Spirit speaks through you, you can't remember exactly what you said. And I said something to the effect that, you know, God knows your pain and He loves you. And it's some encouraging words I gave to her. Okay. And then I um, didn't talk to her for a while, and it went on a little longer, and the insurance company had got it confused too, and so it took a long time getting back to her because I felt that, oh man, she probably think I'm a crazy Jesus woman, Jesus this, Jesus that, and you know, I didn't want her to think that. But when I called her back, she says, "Oh my God, I was just so happy for that you called me back. I know it was so unprofessional, and I just really, really appreciate that prayer. And guess what? I accept Christ as my Savior." And I was the one that was crying then, and I almost have tears in my voice as I tell you this because that was why. New vehicle, new dent. That was why. And I went into it not happy. Oh, why? Why does this happen to me? But that was an answer to my why on this side of heaven. Well, the second part, now I clear the tears out of my voice, of my testimony is I entitle it A Pre-Built Bridge. This is the answer to when Now I refer back to Isaiah 65, verse 24, and it says, "And it shall come to pass that before they called, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear." Which means that he is not on the temporal plane in which we exist. He will build a bridge for you before you even know that you need this. Well, this is a kind of long story. I'm going to kind of try to shorten it a little bit. But in California, I used to collect this little lighted village called D56. And we used to say we don't do drugs. What we do costs more. They're very expensive. And so I had to get some kind of good use out of it. So the club, I started a collectors club, the Inland Empire D56 Club, and we chose a charity, and we were to decorate the Ronald McDonald House in Loma Linda. So we would decorate the Ronald McDonald House, and we had all kind of members. We never really talked about what we did for a living. I was a college professor, and come to find out that one of the members, his name was Norm, he was a plastic surgeon, and this is the building of the bridge. So he was a plastic surgeon that was trained in Loma Linda, and at the time was the head of plastic surgery of Kaiser. Now, I had Kaiser, okay, and my elder son, he was under Kaiser. My whole family's under Kaiser. And wow, this story really takes me back. And what happened was that my eldest son got in a real bad car accident where his face was knocked off, actually knocked off. He had no face from a fence that came through the passenger side in a car he was sitting. And to make a long story short, the call went out to the club because at the time I was the president of the club, and Norm, who was now working at Kaiser, in which I'm a patient, see that bridge, um, called all his friends that were trained out of Loma Linda. And when Chris, when my older son, not Chris, Alex, had been injured, I get confused because they both were injured in different accidents. Um, the club found out that he was taken to Loma Linda, that Kaiser ordered him to go to Loma Linda, and Norm got on the phone and called all his plastic surgeon friends. You see, the bridge, it was pre-built before I even knew I needed. He called all his friends and said, I know this kid that's in Loma Linda that's going to need to be put back together. Can you help me? On my side of the bridge, there was the face of no face. A child had no face, and they told me that it was going to be about 8 surgeries, and it would take years to complete all these surgeries. On the other side of the bridge, Norm had called his friends. He called one particular friend from Florida who specialized in cutting down the number of surgeries a patient would have to face. You see what I mean? So he was flown out on a private jet from Florida to Loma Linda, and was instrumental in putting together all the surgeons in one surgery, one 24-hour surgery. All the surgeons. There was the facial surgeon. There was the head of plastic surgery. There was the um, I guess optometry, the eye, got the nasal. This there was like 5 different surgeons that talked to us, and they had said that there would be a lot of different surgeries. Well, it came to it that Norm made this phone call, and he went to Home Depot, and in Home Depot, Norm had a massive stroke, and Norm actually passed away the day that my son got out of the hospital. They said that was one of the last phone calls he made for his friend to orchestrate the surgery so this kid wouldn't have to, the kid, it was my son, wouldn't have to go through 8, 9 surgeries, just one long 24-hour surgery. So do you see it? I mean, when was before I knew I needed before he I knew I needed it, I started a club, met Norm. Before I knew I needed it, he went to school, became a plastic surgeon. Before I knew I needed it, his friend became specialized in putting all the multiple surgeries together into one. Before I knew I needed it, God built that bridge. So that was amazing. So that is a living proof of Isaiah 65:24. And it says, "And it shall come to pass that before they called, I will answer. And while they were yet asking, speaking, I will hear." So the answer is when? Before. On this side, on this side of heaven, I was given a glimpse of what heaven must be like. This brings me to the story of the painting, the beautiful painting that I referred to in the first installment of this series, entitled This Side of Heaven, that was painted by an artist, D.H. Phillips. Now, what's so interesting, the reason why this painting came about is because D.H. Phillips is my sister. And when I went to write my book, The Accident, I first wanted a picture for the cover, and she said, and I tried to, and I described to her the concept, and she said, "Well, you know what? I have a picture that I painted a year ago." Did you hear that? I have a picture I painted a year ago, and I don't know why. And it kind of demonstrates what you're saying, journeying and basically uh, going through life, the dark sides, the light sides, the unclear, the clear sides of life, going through that. And she showed me the picture, and so that picture became the cover of my book. And so then that kind of got our juices flowing. And she had never ever displayed any of her paintings professionally. And the prelogue to my book was called This Side of Heaven. And this painting is just absolutely gorgeous. It's about, I guess, 7 feet wide. It's wide like a widescreen television. It's just absolutely amazing. It's a oil painting, and it depicts like a whirlpool and dark on one side, and some light on the same side. That's the one side is dark, but through it you can see beautiful clouds. You can see clear sailing, and that's called the painting's called On This Side of Heaven, because you're viewing it from our side of heaven. And the book actually paved the way for her to paint this, and all the paintings. She does all the paintings for the chapters except for one in the book. Every chapter in the book she does. And I don't know what's going to come of this story, but I have lived long enough to know that, and it is not over yet. And that is not the end. It's not over yet. No telling when we have these unanswered questions what the answers will be, and if we will know the answers on this side of heaven. But have faith. God has come and he has overcome the world. Until next time, God bless. My hope is that this journey has been fruitful and you're able to take it and apply it to your life. Until next time, tune in again for the Prisoners of Hope podcast. God bless.